And speaking of the coronation, we're for an update on the historic day. Here's our Ice Chief Correspondent John Cookson, who has been following the day's event live from Buckingham Palace, even in the rains.
The atmosphere at the moment is things have sort of settled down a little bit. An hour or so, this area behind me was absolutely packed with thousands of people filling the area in front of Buckingham Palace. I see that the Royal Standard isn't flying on the top of Buckingham Palace at the moment, which tells me that the King and Camilla are not at the palace right now. They're just flying the ordinary Union flag. My guess is that they've now gone back to Clarence House, which will be their home for the foreseeable future. The King and Queen won't be living in Buckingham Palace for the foreseeable because it's undergoing a massive renovation programme. Tonight, President-elect Tinubu has sent a very nice message to the King. He praises Charles for his efforts in respect of the environment, and then he says, "I trust that you will follow in the glorious footsteps of your late mother and even surpass her achievements in the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth." So a message there from President-elect Tinubu for King Charles. Today, I mean, look, we journalists use the word historic too much, but I think today was historic. The fantastic atmosphere and the pomp and the spectacle of Westminster Abbey, a church that's 1,000 years old, a service, a ceremony that's also 1,000 years old, the King in a crown which is only used for coronations, the St. Edward crown, and he sat in the King Edward chair from the 1300s. And then he and Camilla came back to Buckingham Palace after the ceremony in a coach 300 years old. Look, only the Brits can do this kind of pomp and ceremony. And that's just the coaches I'm talking about. The military spectacle was fantastic. We had an amazing march by over 10,000 soldiers, sailors and airmen ahead of the coach coming back. Came up Whitehall and up the Mall and playing music, and all in the same step. And then when they assembled in Buckingham Palace, the royal family came out onto the balcony, the velvet balcony behind me, and the roar of appreciation from the crowd was absolutely amazing. And this despite the weather. The weather's been terrible today. It's even raining now. But most of us have got wet today at some point, but you know, it just doesn't seem to matter. There was some negativity around today. There is a Republican movement in the United Kingdom. It's not big. There were around 2,000 protesters here today. Their banner normally says something like, "It's not my king." But those people were unexpectedly arrested by police before they got to display their banners in Trafalgar Square, and in fact the leader of the group was also arrested. Now I say surprisingly because the police made it known that they would allow any protesters to actually demonstrate because, you know, it's a free country and people can do what they want. So it did come as a surprise that these people were taken into custody and their banners confiscated. But that was the only thing that when everything went like clockwork today, as it always was going to, because you know, the authorities here have so much practice in putting on spectacles of weddings and funerals of monarchs and other big occasions here in London. And the people, they loved it, and it was great for me as a journalist. I feel that it's a special day for me. I shall always remember watching as the crown was put on King Charles's head, and when the royal family, the new look royal family came out onto the balcony, that was a special moment. And Charles and Camilla in their finery, pictures that will be beamed around the world, not only tonight, but you know, for the coming months and years to come. It was an iconic moment, and it was a privilege to be here. As far as the Commonwealth is concerned, I mean, there have been tensions. That's fair to say. Islands in the Caribbean, including Jamaica, and countries like Belize have talked about not having Charles as head of state. They want to become republics in their own rights, and there's talk of referenda there and also elsewhere. Canada, there's been talk of breaking away from the Commonwealth, and also Australia, possibly a new referendum in the second period of the Australian Prime Minister's term, if he gets one. So there are tensions, but you know, Charles has had a lot of practice. He's learned a lot from his mother. His mother was a bulwark of the Commonwealth. She loved the Commonwealth, and Charles will have learned a lot from her as to how to deal with Commonwealth leaders and to keep them in the fold, because it's still seen by the royal family as a force for good. 50-odd countries united by one sovereign. But as I say, that there are tensions, and there will be changes over the years. That's for sure. And the Commonwealth can go on as it is, or it could be reinvigorated. We don't know, but I can say, having I had some dealings with the King in the past. I met him on a couple of occasions. I mean, he's a very sincere man, he's a very engaging man, he's very intelligent, he's very thoughtful. And if anyone's going to succeed with the Commonwealth, and indeed the new monarchy, Charles will be the one to do that. I was very disappointed today because Harry was here. He flew in on a commercial flight yesterday, but as soon as the service was over, he was away from the back of Westminster Abbey in a fast car, heading back to LA for his son's Archie's birthday, who is 4 years old, and because of the time difference, Harry could get back to California and still be on the day of his son's birthday. But wouldn't it have been incredible to have both of them here? And what I was disappointed was that Harry got out of here so quickly. There could not have been any possible time for him to have a private conversation with his father to try to reconcile the differences. And it was poignant for me today to see that Prince William acknowledged during the service, acknowledged his father as king and kissed him on the cheek. Well, Harry should have been doing that as well. Harry didn't. And we don't know what the Sussexes' intentions are in the future. There are reports that Harry wants to dish the dirt again, or indeed Meghan. And of course that damages the royal family hugely. So it was an opportunity missed. And Harry fleeing like a thief in the night, if you like, as soon as the service was over, was not a good look, let's be honest. People have been camping out for days. Of course they loved it, even though the rain was pouring down, but you know, this is England, it's always going to rain, isn't it? They've been intense in the Mall, which is just here on my right hand side. Those people were then allowed after the ceremony to surge forward along the Mall and, as I said earlier, to fill this space behind me in front of Buckingham Palace and pay homage and to cheer the royal family when they came out on the balcony. Because I was based here and not at the Abbey, I went to watch the ceremony in nearby Green Park on a big screen. There are several screens in London parks in a kind of pop concert environment with medical facilities and food and all of that. And it was a great watch. It was great to be with ordinary folk, ordinary Londoners, and people from all over the world, just watching this spectacle unfold on the big screen. It was interesting, the parts that they cheered. They cheered every time the Prince and Princess of Wales appeared on the screen. They cheered a lot of the music in the Abbey, and they also, of course, cheered when Charles was crowned, and everyone stood up when God Save the King was played. So yeah, I mean, today has been frankly amazing, and as I said earlier, it's been quite a privilege to be here. The police always knew that there were going to be demonstrations, and in the UK in recent months we've had the anti-oil people, we've had environmentalists, other environmental groups, we've had animal rights, and we've had the anti-monarchist movements. And the police were keen to show that they would allow protests, but it seemed not today. They gathered, as I said, in Trafalgar Square, which is half a mile from where I'm standing now, at the bottom of the Mall. But the protesters weren't allowed to chant and to shout their slogans, or indeed show their slogans. Although I have seen on social media them erecting banners in different parts of the crowd elsewhere on the procession route. So to that extent, I think they've had the publicity that they want. I mean, these people live on the internet, they live on Twitter and YouTube, and I've seen lots of images of banners unfold saying "Not my king." So to that extent, on social media, they've got their message across today. And the fact that they didn't burst onto the world stage in front of the world's cameras, I don't think it will worry them too much.